Good evening, folks. It is Thursday, October 16th. It is the end of Harbinger's debut week. My name is Gabriel Urbina, and welcome to the listening party for episode 3 of the Harbingers, Seven Devils. How's everyone doing tonight? I believe that we have somehow made it to the start of the stream on time, without technical difficulties, with everything feeling really, really good. Praise everything above and everything below us. I can't believe that we're actually doing this more or less on time today. But folks, we've made it. It's been a whirlwind week. We've had the debut of the show. We've had the first couple of episodes come out. We've had a great first reaction to the early episodes. We're so touched that all of you have been enjoying the show, that you've been posting nice comments about it, that you're spending your evenings here with us, listening to the episodes. It's really, really incredible. We really appreciate it. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. So, we've made it to the end of this first week. We wanted to release these 3 episodes kind of as a set, because we think that as a little mini arc, they are a really great introduction to the show. From now onwards, we are switching over to a every 2 weeks on Thursdays schedule. Kind of like what I used to do back in Wolf 359 when that was happening, only on a different day of the week. So we are now going to be gone until October 30th. 2 weeks from today, that is when episode 4 comes out. But man, you do not want to miss episode 4. There is some incredible stuff coming from us in that episode, including the 5th member of sort of our principal cast, someone that you haven't met yet, but is kind of waiting in the wings, waiting to be introduced. So make sure that you tune in on October 30th. And I don't know about you guys, but I've had a great time with these, so I think that I'll probably be back to do another listening party for them. Watch out on the social media for any news about that, but I think that we're going to be back here for anyone that wants to listen to the episode as a group and kind of comment along with it. It's the early days of a new podcast, folks, so as usual, anything that you can do to help us appease the algorithm gods is really appreciated. So if you get to the end of today and you've enjoyed the first of these episodes, please, leave a rating, leave a review, leave all the things that all the podcasts usually ask you to do. We really appreciate it, and we can't tell you how important it is to help the show find its audience. And if you know somebody that needs a show about 2 rival magicians in the modern era, please let them know that the Harbingers exists. We really want to get as many people listening to this show as possible. And I think without further ado, let's kind of get into the main course of today. Episode 3, Seven Devils. Same as the last 2 times. I'm already tripping over my words, my goodness. Same as the last 2 times, just, we're going to be listening to the episode. I'm going to turn my screen off and my audio off, and we're all just going to be listening to the episode and commenting in the chat. If you have already listened to the episode, please just be mindful that there may be folks here that are listening to it for the first time. So please keep any spoilers to yourselves until we get to the appropriate moments in the episode. There are some doozies in this one, and we definitely don't want to give anything away until the appropriate moment. So please just be mindful of folks that are listening to the episode for the first time. Episode 3 of the Harbingers includes strong language. It includes some discussions of politics. It includes some depictions of people being in peril, of hypothermia, of starvation. It has some mentions of violence. It has some mentions of death. There's some allusions to a large-scale disaster. If any of that sounds like a thing that you don't want to deal with tonight, please err on the side of taking care of yourselves. These episodes will be around, and even like an archival version of this live stream will be around if that is not something that you want to deal with tonight. Please take care of yourselves first and foremost. But all right, I'm seeing some folks in the chat. Thank you all for being here. I think let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into episode 3, Seven Devils. So here we go with episode 3.
Sinclair University, October 2018.
Area Aldro Sirendel.
I'm sorry, sir?
Area Aldro Sirendel. What do you think?
I think you might be talking to the wrong person, sir.
Oh? You're Adam Blackwell.
Yes.
Second-year transfer from Oregon State, Adam Blackwell?
Yes?
You're in my office right now because I told someone, go get me Adam Blackwell, who transferred from Oregon State, and you're the person they went and got me? You're that Adam Blackwell?
Yes, but
I'm not talking to the wrong person.
Professor McCandless,
Sit down.
don't...
You're not in my class, Mr. Blackwell.
Adam's fine, sir.
You're not in my class, Mr. Adam.
Just Adam. No, sir, I'm not.
Why not?
You wouldn't let me. I tried to add it to my schedule during shopping period, but...
The university cares about average class size. If I let more than 75 people enroll in my intro class, they get cranky. When they get cranky, they don't pay for my trips to active archaeological sites. You understand?
Absolutely. Yes, I get that.
We teach the intro class every semester. It'll be there for you in 4 months. You seem unsatisfied.
Well, with all due respect, sir, you don't teach the intro class every semester. And with all due respect to your colleagues, when the other professors in the anthropology department teach it, it's not a 75-person class. From what I understand, when it's not you teaching it, sometimes it isn't even a 10-person class.
Which is why you've been sneaking into my lectures.
I can explain that.
Even though I said no auditors.
I didn't think that... I've just dropped in from time to time to hear the lectures. I didn't...
Aldro Sirendel. What does it mean?
I think it's... all things have an image?
All things have a reflection, actually. But not bad. That was carved on something called the Childers column. Do you know what that is?
No. Yes, I know what the Childers column is.
You have not just been sitting in on my classes. You've been doing the reading. You've been doing the extra credit reading.
Sir, how could you know
About
that?
10% of the class I teach is in a dead language. You get good at seeing who is waiting for you to stop saying weird old words that mean nothing to no one and who understands. And then you get good at noticing which of the people who understand aren't in the class registry.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
You're already taking 5 classes. Intro to Linguistics and Semiotics, Early Medieval History, a seminar on English literature, a historiography class, statistics, and that's more than a full load.
Not all of my credits from Portland State transferred.
And you're still finding time to crash my lectures 3 times a week and get passably good at a dead language? That's for you. Call it an audition. I want 2,000 words on the original translation of the Childers column, and I want it by Friday at 6.
But, sir, I don't know if...
That's Roser and Langholtz, the best guide we have to the Harbinger languages. That's my personal copy, too, with my annotation, so I'll want that back at the end of the semester.
At the end of the semester?
I'll meet you here every Monday at 6, and I'll have some work for you to do. You'll get it to me by 6 on Friday. If you are late one time, we are done. If you half-ass your work one time, we are done. If you half-ass your work in other classes, if you don't end the semester with at least a 3.8, we are done. But get to December without disappointing me, and I'll make sure you are in every class I teach for the rest of your time at Sinclair. Do we have a deal?
Yes, sir, that would be... I can't tell you... It would mean so much. I really appreciate you taking...
Yes, very good. While I'm sure those sentence fragments are going to lovely places, why don't we just leave it at this? Professor Julian McCandless.
Adam Blackwell. Sir.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Adam Blackwell. I think we're going to do some great work together.
Audacious Machine Creative presents The Harbingers. Created by Gabriel Urbina. Episode 3, 7 Devils.
Tell me about Julian McCandless, your mentor, the person who first taught you about the Harbingers. What is he like?
Oh, he's like 5'10", 5'11", thereabouts.
Dr. Blackwell.
He's the Andrew Joliet Professor of Archaeology and Anthropology at Sinclair University, a position they literally invented just so they could give it to him. He got a doctorate at 27 and tenure at 32. He has, in his lifetime, completely changed our understanding of how the Harbinger languages work. And he's only 50. Nobody in the world knows more about the Harbingers than he does.
Nobody except you, of course.
Nobody. Professor McCandless knows a lot more than I ever will.
Adam, do you have a doctorate from Sinclair University?
I do.
Do you have a Harbinger ring that lets you do magic?
Sure, and
Did you use said magical powers to teleport the city of Boston to the moon?
I did, but...
Great. If you would like to get through what's about to happen in one piece, do me a favor and never fucking say that there's someone out there that might know more about this stuff than you do. Understood?
There's a difference between what I can do and what he does, that's all I'm saying.
You became his student in 2018?
My first year at Sinclair, back when I was an undergrad. He took me under his wing. I took 5 classes with him before I graduated. Then 3 years later, I went back and became one of his grad students.
And when did he start having an undue amount of influence over you?
Who said he had an undue amount of influence over me?
Good boy. I'm gonna start to throw curveballs like that your way every now and then. No, here's the real question. In an interview from 2028, you claimed that your time studying under Professor McCandless was the most influential in your life. That before you took a class with him, you weren't interested in anthropology or archaeology or Harbinger culture. If he'd been teaching a class on chemistry, you'd now be a chemist. You said this is the man who set you down the path of what has become your life.
I was promised something about a real question somewhere in here.
Yes, and here it is. Does the Andrew Joliet Professor of Archaeology and Anthropology at Sinclair University wield an undue amount of influence over the most powerful man in the world? Put it another way, if this man told you to jump off a bridge, would you do it?
Or if this man told me to teleport a whole city into outer space, would I do it? I don't know. He hasn't ever done either of those things.
But he did tell you to follow him to one of the most remote, most dangerous parts of the world, which you did, and to enter an ancient tomb, which you did, and...
Yes, fine. Point made. I don't know what to tell you. He was smart. And he knew how to teach in a way that invited you to come up to his level. So many of my college professors made me feel like I was an ant next to them. Professor McCandless could explain something in a way that made you feel like you could rise up to where he was.
Next slide, please.
His lectures were a joy to listen to.
Okay, now this is what we in the business affectionately call the Chamber of the 7 Devils.
Sinclair University, October 2018.
That is not its official name, of course, but I find it a bit catchier than Room A14 of the Lancaster site. They found this place in the Kerguelen Islands, more commonly known by their slightly dramatic nickname of the Desolation Islands. If neither of those names rings a bell, it's a small archipelago found in the way southern part of the Indian Ocean. The islands are considered one of the most isolated places on Earth. So, book your next vacation now. All kidding aside, this is actually the first Harbinger site that was ever discovered, all the way back in 1778. It's also the only extant structure we've ever found outside of the Antarctic continent itself, And until very recently, when we actually started discovering the ones in the Antarctic continent itself, it was more or less all we had in terms of Harbinger sites. So, weirdos like me have spent about 200 years really picking this place apart. Now, you've probably noticed a couple of interesting things about this building. For starters, it's startlingly well preserved for a building that's approximately 6,000 years old. Part of this is due to the fact that this was actually the lower level of a temple complex. Half of it was built above ground, with a mirror image below ground. Back in the 70s, when the brutalists got obsessed with the idea, they called it iceberg architecture. But, as with so many things, the Harbingers did it first. Next slide, please. As above, so below. That's what the old alchemists used to say. Harbingers called it the law of correspondence, area aldro sirendel. All things have a reflection. To every action, an equal opposite reaction. A little preview of Newton they gave the world all the way back in the 4000 BC. As you can see here in this conceptual reconstruction of what the full complex would have looked like, the Harbingers lived this principle through and through. Everything they built, that we found at least, seems to have been put together in the iceberg style. That's what saved this particular site. The elements ate away at the top layer, but the bottom one stayed relatively well preserved. Next slide, thank you. Now, the next interesting thing you might have noticed is this room is actually a perfect heptagon. Or it would have been when it was in pristine condition anyway. It's a big, big room with 7 corners in it. And in each of those, a statue. Most of them were too worn down by the time we found them, but, next slide, these two you can see a remarkable amount of detail on. Chamber of the 7 Devils. 7 is a big, talismanically important number in Harbinger studies. It crops up all the time, so be on the lookout for it. These are devils number 4 and number 6, Erodio and Salix. And the room above would have been the room of angels with 7 more statues. Again, mirrors, reflection, above and below. Next image, please. That's too Judeo-Christian of a name, by the way. I want to acknowledge that. If we're going for as literal a translation as we can, it should be something like the Chamber of Guardians and the Chamber of Challengers, but the place was rediscovered by French explorers, so... If the Harbingers had a concept of gods, we haven't found much about them yet. But we found a lot of records about their concept of the 7 angels, and a lot about the 7 devils. Lots of different fables and allegories chiseled into stone beneath the ice. Most of them talk about them as these forces, trying to reshape the world. And if they came to you, they could give you power. The power to change the world. The trick, of course, was to ask yourself, am I changing it into what I want it to be, or into what they want it to be? Thank you, Elodie. You can shut that off now. And we can get the lights up too. So this is usually the point in the class where someone goes, who cares? Who cares? Some very old people lived on some very old rocks, and they had ideas about things like angels and devils and powers, and so what? Who cares? Maybe you don't. And for certain people, nothing I could say could change that. But for me, here's why we should care. To study a culture's religion is to study that culture's notion of the ideal human being. Sometimes only subconsciously, but still. When we call something a god, what we're saying is, this is what, as a culture, we are going to try to be. This is what we're aiming for. Christianity is a religion where an all-powerful man is always right, and, well, we've gotten pretty patriarchal in most places where the majority ticks Christian on the census form. The ancient Greek pantheon were a big squabbling family who had to work together to get things done, even when they hated one another, which was a lot of the time. They were one of the first places to try out this crazy idea called democracy. We act like our gods. But with the Harbingers, you have a mythology where the divine beings from a higher plane of existence are not all powerful, or they can only affect the world when we open the door for them to do so. So, if we act like our gods, what does a concept of spirituality based on cooperation do to a society? In a world where God depends on man to act upon reality, what does the ideal man look like? Okay, that's enough heady stuff for one day. Does anyone have any questions?
The Harbingers will be back after these messages. And now, back to the Harbingers.
You don't actually think of yourself as a god, do you?
That's not the point. In the Western world, we think of a god as someone that creates out of nothing. He snaps his fingers and the world changes. How would our way of interacting with the world change if our concept of the divine was of a being that... What?
Dr. Blackwell. Look, in my profession, there is a subtle but important distinction between a right answer and a correct answer. A right answer is factual, but not always appropriate. Do you understand? Good. The next time anyone asks you if you think of yourself as a god, the correct answer is no, for fuck's sake.
That is not...
seriously.
I am
need
trying
you
to make
actually
a
hear
larger
the words
point
that
about
come out
cultural
of your mouth.
anthropology, about
Because
the
while
way
you
that we
pontificate
reckon
about
with
sociology
spirituality
and
how it
theoretical
comes to shape
geopolitics,
our
the
thoughts,
whole
and
world
are you
is
just trying to make it
terrified
into
of what you
what?
are going to do
What,
next.
an ego
because
thing?
Need I
Because
remind
that
you
is
that
not-
500,000 people are dead?
600,000. Just for the record. From what I understand, the estimate is that there were 645,777 people in Boston that day. So no, you don't need to remind me.
I'm sorry. That was not my most sensitive. Would you like to take a break? We've been at this for
I'm
some
fine
time.
to keep going.
Okay. Suffice to say, McCandless is an important figure in your life?
Suffice to undersay, I would have followed him to the ends of the earth.
You did follow him to the ends of the earth. Tell me about the Robinson site.
It's hard to describe. Have you ever been?
To Antarctica? Can't say that I have.
It's not as remote as it once was, since what happened. Tourism's gone way up. Mostly amateur archaeologists and Harbinger groupies, hoping to catch a glimpse of the world that came before. That's now. Back then, when I first went, it was just endless. White that went on forever. As far as you can see, with the occasional rocky outcropping or nunatak to break up the great expanse. If you go during the half of the year when it's day, the sky and the ground reflect each other like a perfect mirror. If you go during the half of the year when it's night, you get to freeze in the blackest dark that anyone will ever see.
What was that word? A nunatak?
Nunatak. Greenlandic term. It means a point where the top of the mountain pokes out from under the ice or snow. It's the sort of thing that happens down there. You go, that's a rock. No, that's a mountain. A mountain that's been buried. And that's when you understand just how much snow you're standing on top of. Of course, we've changed that. Climate change means a lot of that has melted away. The mountain ranges of Antarctica are actually looking like mountains these days. Which is how we found it.
And Sereth.
And Sereth, the great lost city of the Harbingers, buried for a millennia beneath 120 meters of ice. Well, what's left of it, anyway. Discovered by French-Australian archaeologist Helene Robinson in the late 90s. It had taken over 20 years of excavating to reach the lowest chambers. 8 months before I got there, they'd broken through a big stone slab, found a shaft that seemed to go all the way to the bottom. That's why McCandless was so excited to get out there that year.
How is it possible for an ancient city, even one that's half built underground, to have been created on a continent where the average winter temperature is minus 50 degrees? How did they survive?
Well, early theories were architectural. Great convection systems built right into the foundation of the building structures, able to keep the city as a whole habitable during the dark part of the year.
What's the modern theory?
A wizard did it.
Fair enough. That's where it happened?
Yeah. The third day after I got to Antarctica. My first day down in the crypts. That's where it happened. Robinson Archaeological Site. The ruins of Ann Sereth. November 2025. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Blackwell, you doing okay down there? You make it to the bottom? Over.
Professor, yeah, I'm all the way at the bottom. I'm off the lift. Over.
Okay, step back. We're sending it back up for the next person. Over.
Copy that. I'm all clear. Over.
What's it look like, kid? What are you seeing? Over.
It's beyond words. It's one thing to see pictures, but to actually be here. Over.
You are breathing the air of the Harbingers now. Over.
The walls, they actually sparkle. Over.
Yeah, that's the sapphire. We still don't know how the hell they were working it like that 6,000 years ago, or how the hell they got it down here, but it's incredible to see it, isn't it? Over?
Yeah. The chamber's big, too. Bigger than I expected. Must be at least, 25 feet end to end? Over?
I think you're right about that, yeah. You see it yet? The sarcophagus? Over?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, I'm next to it now. Erun Kaler Sarkor Dare. Here lies Sarkor, first son. We still have no idea who this is? Over?
That's what I brought you out here for. Fresh eyes on the problem. Over.
Yeah. Selrun Silambar. That's what it says here. That's, the distant one? Yeah? Over?
Either that or the one who travels distances, yeah. The current best guess from the linguistics is that he was some kind of traveler or diplomat. But we haven't seen anything that would back up the claim that he... Holy Adam, look out!
What is it? What is it?
Get clear. Get away from the...
For a moment, I really thought I died. But just for a moment.
Adam? Adam, are you there? Come in, Adam.
The good news is I wasn't dead. The bad news is that the cable on the lift they'd used to lower me into the site had snapped. The lift had fallen, crashing into the sides of the shaft as it went, dislodging a couple 1,000 pounds of icy sediment as it fell 120 meters. So, kind of a mixed day for me. Oh, and I had also sprained my ankle. Fine, let's just call it a bad day.
How long were you down there?
2 days. A little more, but basically 2 days. Most of it in the dark, in total silence. I'd use my flashlight a bit. I'd talk to Professor McCandless and hear about how they were scrambling to get me out of there, but I knew I needed to conserve my power. So a lot of it was just very dark and very quiet.
How did you keep it together?
Oh, I very much did not keep it together. I was in a tomb beneath a football field of snow. Barely any food, barely any water, a dead body all around me. Oh, yeah, the falling debris that came into the room, a piece of it had hit the sarcophagus, smashed it apart. Whoever Sarkor distant first son was, now bits of his very old remains were all around me. I was practically breathing him. So, yeah, I did not keep it together.
And that's when you found it?
Yeah, that's when I found it. I hadn't moved much, what with my leg and the dead body of it all, which is how I hadn't seen it. It must have been in the sarcophagus too, just sitting down there all this time. A silver ring. A silver ring that had been down there for the better part of all of human history.
Tell me, is it good archaeological practice to just put on a 6,000-year-old ring from an active dig site?
Miss Skinner, it was enormously stupid of me to remove my glove at all. Nothing about this was a good idea. But I thought I was going to die. This was a tomb, and I was going to die here. Might as well become a part of the history of the place.
And what happened when you put it on?
Does anyone have any questions? How about the class stowaway, Mr. Blackwell?
Professor, what does contact with these devils look like? What does the Harbinger tradition say about what meeting one of these beings was like?
A good question. Well, it depends on which account you're looking at. Different carvings depict different things, but overwhelmingly, they describe it as an explosion. An explosion of the mind. Some of the fables and allegories speak of the communion with these old powers as kind of a moment of clarity, a point of delirious, feverish revelation. But for one instant, you could see everything that came before you and everything that's coming after you. It's the kind of thing that could drive people mad. But for those who weren't broken, sometimes they would return with knowledge, divine knowledge, or knowledge of a lost age, lost in the ashes of history. That's what the stories say anyway, but who knows?
What was it like to put on the ring?
Who knows what making contact with a power like the ones the Harbinger myths describe would actually be like.
It was pretty much the most terrifying thing that ever happened to me. When it was over, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I just needed to get out of there. I was just staring at a pile of debris and ice that was blocking the shaft that led back to the outside world. And all I could think was, I want this ice to be gone. I want this ice to be gone. And so I just screamed it. Those exact words. Orashkare Kildrun Arun! At least I thought I did. And then, a moment later.
Wait! I think I see it. I think we made an opening.
They called it a miracle. A beautiful miracle. Nobody thought they'd be able to dig me out in time. It was way too much ice, no way, but I got out.
And when did it become clear that you could do magic?
Not for a bit. I spent most of the following week unconscious. Another one drinking Grandma's chicken noodle soup at Davis Station. But eventually, people started asking questions.
Why did they start to ask questions?
Because 20 days after I got out, someone found approximately 2,000 pounds of icy debris and shattered mineshaft lift in the middle of nowhere, about 70 miles to the west of the Robinson site. And nobody knew how it got there. Turns out a wizard did it.
That word you just said. Miracle. Do you believe that's what happened to you?
Have you ever heard of Cleopatra's nose? The thought experiment, not the actual nose. Well, it's a fallacy. Blaise Pascal, I think. Basically, back in the Roman days, a nose like Cleopatra's was a symbol of beauty and nobility and virtue. It was part of the reason why Julius Caesar and Mark Antony both fell in love with her, which led to them both having children with her, which led to wars and alliances and betrayals and geopolitical fractures, which eventually directly contributed to the fall of the Roman Empire. So the fallacy goes, if Cleopatra's nose had been shorter, the empire would have never fallen, and we'd all be speaking Latin right now. It's one of the first things they teach you not to do in my profession. You don't make the fate of the world rest on Cleopatra's nose. A little thing is just a little thing. It's not the reason for huge, earth-shattering consequences. Everything just happens. But I have to confess, with everything that's happened, I do wonder, what if I hadn't transferred to Sinclair? What if McCandless hadn't taken a chance on me? What if, I'd been late on one of his assignments one time and he kicked me to the curb? What if I hadn't got to go with him to Antarctica?
What if Miss Sterling had gotten to go with you?
What if the cable hadn't broken, or if the debris hadn't hit the sarcophagus, or I hadn't found the ring in the dark? It's a lot of little things, all leading up to one big thing.
So, do you believe that there is some kind of higher power at work here?
I don't know, Miss Skinner. But I remember thinking how unlikely what happened to me was. And when I found out that Amy had a ring as well, the chances that there would be two of us, it felt kind of miraculous.
Except there aren't two of you, are there?
No, there aren't.
By my last count...
There are 7 of us. 7 of us that can do magic. 7.
And how does that make you feel?
Honestly, it scares the shit out of me.
This has been The Harbingers, created by Gabriel Urbina. Come back October 30th for Episode 4, Send My Love. Today's episode was written by Gabriel Urbina. It was directed and sound designed by Jeffrey Nils Gardner. It featured the voices of Andres Enriquez as Adam Blackwell, Emmy Bean as Claudia Skinner, and Joshua K. Harris as Julian McCandless. Today's episode also featured the voice of Clayton Fates. Our original music was composed by Nicholas Padani. Recording engineering and dialogue editing was by Zhou-Lin Wu. Our original show art was created by Cassie J. Allen. The executive producer for the series is Eleanor Hyde. You can learn more about the show, see a timeline of the events of our story, and become a supporting member at audaciousmachinecreative.com. This is an Audacious Machine Creative production. Thank you for listening.
Today's history tidbit. On October 16th, 1904, stone tablets depicting ancient Harbinger myths became a part of the permanent exhibit at the Pitts Rivers Museum in Oxford, England.
Oh, let's see. One more time. There we go. Not sure what the problem was, but here we are. All right, nice little low-key episode for us. Episode 3, 7 Devils. Thank you all for hanging out and listening to this episode with us. Happy to hang around for a little bit longer and take any questions in the chat if anyone has anything they'd like to know more about. But as usual, while folks think if there's anything they want to know more about, I will, as always, say that we are including those little history tidbits at the end of each episode. So it is absolutely worth getting to the end of the episodes and hearing all the way to the end of the credits, because we're always going to sneak in a little bit of extra context, a little bit of color, a little bit of texture about how the history of the world of the Harbingers is slightly different, slightly more askew, slightly more twisted than our own history. And a lot of that lives there, and a lot of that is going to be stuff that sort of points towards future episodes. The one at the end of episode 2 spoke about the publication of the book that McCandless gives Adam at the start of this episode. So we will often be kind of setting up something from a future episode in these little history tidbits. So again, for those of you, and I already know that some of you are out there doing this, if you are sort of trying to solve the puzzle of the Harbingers in real time, definitely pay attention to those little history tidbits. There will be some good hints for you there. But all right, not seeing any questions in the chat. Let's just give it a couple more moments, just in case anyone is just formulating a question right now. And again, I'll say that this has been a lot of fun, so I think that I'm going to try to do this around or on the 30th when we come back for episode 4. That episode is called Send My Love, and I think that you're going to have a lot of fun with that one, and I'm very excited to sort of do another one of these listening parties. I'll definitely be posting about it on the Blue Sky, on Tumblr, on kind of like all the platforms, wherever you are following for information about the Harbingers. We'll do our best to make sure that you are up to date on all the things over there. And yeah, we've said this, I think, a few times, but the current aim is to make the first season 16 episodes. So we're just getting started here. We're just kind of ramping up. Things are only going to get more intense from here on out. And the dream is to kind of do 8 episodes between now and the end of this year, and 8 more in the new year. So keep an eye out for news about all of that, for release calendars, for all those things. Definitely be visiting our website. We're going to be keeping we're going to be posting a couple things in there in sort of, extras, behind the scenes stuff. As I've said a couple times, there is a timeline there that we are updating as new episodes come out, so that you can actually see kind of a reference guide for the events in all the episodes actually in the chronological order as they happen. Okay, a question, because I'm a huge language nerd, I'm actually wondering how much more detail there will be from the sort of linguistic perspective. There will be some amount of detail, like there is... The question of translation is sort of something that the characters will need to reckon with as they try to figure out the language. I am not a linguist, and as much as I would love to, I can't really get a degree to write this show. And so I think that there's kind of a ceiling to how much depth we will go into. But there is absolutely some more kind of stuff detailing the linguistics of the different Harbinger languages in the show coming down the pipeline. But yeah. Alrighty, I think that may be it for tonight. Not really seeing anything more in the chat. So, folks, I think we're going to call it here for tonight. Thank you all so much for hanging out, for listening to episode 3 with me. Let's meet back here again in 2 weeks and do it for episode 4. You've all been wonderful. Help us to spread the word about the show. Please, please review it. Please rate it. Please, help to tell your friends about it. We really, really want as much attention on the show as we can, and we're really depending on all of you to help us get there. But for now, thank you all so much, and thank you for making our launch week really wonderful and really special. We so appreciate it. Alrighty. Thank you all. Have a good night, and see you again soon.